Hey Flosstube friends, it's Lana here with Silly Notion Stitcher. I am a Flosstube channel, mostly about my cross stitch, but I also show you some of the quilting or other sewing that I've been doing. I'm always trying to remind myself to look at the main camera of the phone, but that won't last long. So you're seeing me today without my glasses. I am in the middle of cataract surgery. Big shocker that came about this summer. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm very interested in those who have gone through it, are going through it. I'm in the middle of not being happy with it. In fact, we postponed the second eye until I can get my prescription decided. My eyes, really my brain is not adapting the way we wanted it to. So it's really fun when your brain doesn't cooperate. I'm sitting here in front of my Winding Ways quilt that just came back from the New Holland Fair in Lancaster County, PA. This lovely lady won a red ribbon, second prize. This was in the hand quilted single person or individual person quilt category. Didn't have a lot of competition. In fact, I don't know if there was even a third. There might have just been 2 hand quilted items. Hand quilting's not super popular anymore in a broad sense. I mean, across the metaverse, you see a lot of people adding hand quilting in different ways, but there were a bunch of machine quilted, a long-armed quilt, and a few t-shirt quilts. So my t-shirt quilt that I entered also won second prize, so that's very exciting. But I decided to go scrappy with this pattern. The Winding Ways pattern quilt has been out there a long time. I don't really know the whole history of it, but the pattern I used actually shows it more monochromatic, and then just one of these circles is sort of, and a diamond is in a salmon color against a lot of grays. And I loved the look of that, but I saw someone's at like a show and tell type of program where she did scrappy, and I just knew then that I wanted to do it, and I wanted to do it that way. It lends itself to, I have like a lot of novelty fabrics in my stash because I just love the cuteness of novelty fabrics, and sometimes that can really interfere as I've taken lots of quilting classes over the years, and really I've done a few quilts now. I understand more about, you know, color and volume of the patterns that are in fabrics and how that can affect the overall look and everything. So kind of like dabbling in that probably in my next phase of quilting. So just being a little bit more cognizant of it. So I think we all have that growth in our hobbies, and just like cross stitch, we know a little bit more like how flosses are going to interact with each other, or like overdyed flosses and things like that. If we stitch a certain direction or a certain way, how we might get more dimension than in another way, and how that might appeal to us or not in the end product. So I think it's really, really amazing that when I first picked up cross stitch, which was basically like 5 years ago in September like 2020, I just thought it was pattern. You followed the numbers and you got an end picture. And my very first pattern that I picked up at a thrift store was like just a few, it was irises, and it was just like a small kit. And I'm like, okay, you know, I'm like, well, now I'm like so deep in. If you've been a subscriber and you've been watching me, it's just really, really fun because we all get to discover the new things that appeal to us. So I have a lot of finishes to show because I finished a few things to go to 2 fairs, and it makes it more worthwhile when you have a few things, and then if you win, your check is a little bit bigger. So the first fair that I entered was Ephrata, and that was a few weeks ago. And I didn't have this quilt ready. I had my t-shirt quilt ready. I might have shown this before. It's a little hard to show because it's so big. I kind of thought it was not going to win anything at the Ephrata fair, and I was accurate, and that was just because of the category it had to be put in. Now, it did win second prize at the New Holland fair that I just came back from last night. So I was very pleased with that. It was up against, at New Holland, it was up against a Boy Scout t-shirt quilt, which was pretty cool. It was very large. It wasn't quilted though. Like, come on. I quilted mine. But anyway, it was, I guess these were in like a blanket category, but this is very special to me because it's all of my dad's t-shirts that he wore and wore and wore and wore. And they were from a lot of the vacations that we took over the years, or places that he and my mom went. Dollywood is now very special because I understand, I saw a headline that I think it's fully closing now. My dad was a big fisherman. He loved the Shad Festival up in Lehigh Valley. So very, very special, and it's very cozy and warm because I put this plush throw on the back. So anyway, we really are getting to the cross stitch now. Okay, this is the second time I'm filming this because I was yammering too much about other stuff, and here I'm doing it again. So I had my set of pilgrims. I am so thrilled that they are finally finished. My stand-up pilgrims, Liberty fabric on the back. Very exciting. I picked up this Liberty fabric at Liberty of London when I was there a few years ago. This is my first cording I ever made, and I'm happy with how it came out. It barely fit though, so I didn't do the typical cording around the base because I truly just ran out. But it would have sort of, I didn't want it to hide their feet at all. On the bottom, I did a wool felt over, pretty sure that's like the sticky board is what I use. And because my cording was so not fitting and I didn't do this piece first, I don't know. I covered it with these little brown patches. It's the same trim as I did for his front, because after I sewed him together to the back, I realized I had left his coat open. It was not stitched, and I really was not finding this same color brown. I did these with anchor threads because I had been seeing or hearing about Anchor's coverage, and it was around the time that Brenda was talking about Anchor, and so of course I had to go buy the Anchor. But anyway, and I hand stitched, that shows how I did 2 different stitches, but these won first place at both fairs, mainly because I think they were the only thing in, these were in a centerpiece category. It was centerpiece over 12 inches. Well, she like towers over him. She's definitely the woman of the house. But I love them. This is a Lily Kate pattern. He was supposed to have a musket, but I chose not to put the musket in there. I just was trying to simplify it and get them done, as well as I knew I wanted to do them as a stand-up, and I just wasn't sure. He just seemed like he was going to be very, very big if I would have done the musket, because it stuck out over one of the sides. So I modified the pattern a little bit. So I'm very excited that they are finished now and finally here for Thanksgiving. I think I started them in 2023. I remember stitching. I was definitely stitching her in 2023 at Stitch New England, which is in October, and in this section I was suddenly having a color problem. I had floss of the same number, same dye lot, got them at the same place, and the color was not matching. So my friend Kathleen, Snickerdoodle Stitch, and another person at our table helped consult with me, and I took the two flosses together, blended them, and voila, it worked out fine. So got through that because I was gonna have a fit, but it was all good. So next up for a finish is my Sue Hillis Designs. It's a crabby day without a stitch to cross. This is a Sue Hillis Designs. I picked this up when I was at StitchCon 2023. I saw it hanging over a doorway at Keepsakes, and I love crabs and I love stitching crabs, so just had to have that. And then of course found this cute crab fabric a while ago, and so I've been keeping it to the side for my finish. I am still planning on doing some sort of edging here. It's just kind of gappy. So then definitely picked up one of these Bucilla hoop frame finishes. And now this, I remember Helen D saying it doesn't have a frame hook on it. I will probably put one on, but I don't mind also putting things in. Is it a pedestal? I don't feel it. An easel. I had this crab fabric. This is actually flannel, and I was making little Ort, folded Ort pouches. Not really for your Orts, for your a bed, thread bed. I haven't had enough coffee yet this morning. So I had some of that fabric, and that's my finish back. It's so funny with the hoop. To find a 6-inch hoop, I wound up at Good Store in the Lancaster area, and it was nice and cheap. It's that brand that's it's a woman's name. But it was funny, the wooden hoops were in odd numbers. So they were 7 inches, 5 inches, and you need 6 inches for this frame. So I would have gotten a better color. I wanted just like a wooden hoop, but so kind of the hot pink doesn't really go with my salmon and aqua, but so I'm glad that that is all finished. Now this is funny, at Ephrata it won 3rd place. At New Holland it took 1st in its category. All right. Oh, it's on a Lugana as well. I don't know what count. It's probably 28 count. All right, and then I've shown this finish before, so nothing really changed with the finish, and I do display this. Literally, I'm truly just back from, I just didn't take the ribbons off. I picked these up like at 9:45 last night in New Holland, so, and it's probably 20 miles from my house, so it's not like a hop, skip, and a jump home. So this is the Chubby Bee, and I finished that earlier this spring or summer. And this is on Dirty Teacup. This was my first ever piece of Dirty Teacup, so that's very exciting. I think it's 32 count. The backing I used is just like a wool felt in sort of a honey gold color. And then I just trimmed it at the hoop. I probably could put something else on it, but I don't think I will bother. This is sort of like a little bit of a, I'll call it vintage. It's not antique, but I like that it's like a labeled, it's probably upside down. A labeled hoop I got at Hodgepodge. They used to sell some antique items there, and they are in Strasburg, Lancaster County, one of my LNSs. So this one took the blue ribbon at both fairs, so I was very pleased with that. I sort of feel like my mother is making noise. I don't know if she's calling me. Please hold. Okay, I'm back. Yes, she was. My mother was asking me questions, so. All right, so what else do we have in the bag here? This is another finish. I think I showed this in the springtime. This is an Erica Michaels design. It's from the Spring Berries. And we have the robin on there. This is a Picture This Plus fabric. And then I finished it with some silk ribbon rolls to do some like little flower roses. Sorry, now it's like, there we go. And I borrowed this. Ooh, I'm going to have to fix them. I borrowed this idea, I think from Erica Michaels, sort of like a nest type treatment on the top with some little robin's eggs. That's what they are. And a little ribbon there. I think I just showed that. But anyway, very excited about that. Cracks me up. The category that this was in at New Holland was sort of like a household. They called it household accessories. And I said, well, is that, you know, like utility type things like bags and whatever. And they said, no, it can be decor and stuff. So on one side was, is it Amachuri? The animals and things that people make out of crochet. But it was like a little plant pot with a flower coming out of it with a little face on the vase. It was very cute. Well, that got third. And what got first was like one of those woven pot holders that people made in, you know, in the 70s on one of those little looms. It was bigger than that, and all right, it was fine. It just cracked me up that it was in that class and category. So it must have been like an other category. So, but that's funny. I felt like there was more, but I guess that's it. For the pilgrims, I wanted them to be like holding a pumpkin or a pie or something like that because of how their hands are in the front, and I envisioned them holding a pie and stuff. If you make the pattern the way it calls for, the Just Another Button company pumpkin, and there probably was a pie, would have been to the right scale. They're very much out of scale. So at I bought this at Target. Well, then this was way out of scale, and if I would have like stuck it on them, it would have been like some gigantic thing protruding. And then at a quilt show recently, there was a woman who has a wool felt pop-up shop, and I picked up these little balls. They were kind of expensive. They don't work either. So they'll just be nice display items to go with my fall cross stitch display whenever I have one of those. Because I have a lot of fall in progress but not finished. Okay, so on to a little Sampler September wrap up, and then a few other things that I have either planned or that I'm working on. I have another finish, but it's not a final finish. Now I can't find the actual piece. Please hold again. Okay, so I am back again. So this is a prior finish that is not quite fully finished. I left a note for myself. It is 4x4, and so I need a 4x4 frame. Just wanted to show that I finished it using adhesive foam, craft foam. And for something basic like this that I know, it didn't turn out the greatest. This is a project that I first started working on probably, I don't think it was 2020. I think I picked up the pattern for free. Oh, no. It was like 2020, 2021. So it was one of my first fall things that I did. But last year at this home, it's called At Home, and it's actually going out of business now, but it's a very large home goodsy type of place. There's one in Lancaster. But I picked up this pumpkin. I kept walking past it, and it was $10, and I was like, you don't really need a stuffed pumpkin. You're going to have to store it. That's $10. But I kept coming back to it because it's perfect for finishing something on it, and it's got multiple sides. So I can put something Halloween-y on here and just move it around. It could even serve through Thanksgiving. So I got it. And so I think I'm just going to finish this with an edging around it. And then I love with the foam, it's moldable easily. So I'll have to decide how I want to attach this. Like, do I want to be able to swap it out? And how do I want to do that? Why am I holding it to the side? But anyway, it's really cute. And I had a tuxedo kitty, my dear Leo. He's gone now a few months, and I'm really starting to miss him as the weather turns cooler, because he would be cozied up on my lap as I stitch, and so I miss that. But anyway, that is a fun thought for finishing. I also have an old Longaberger pumpkin basket. This was definitely a splurge in the Longaberger days. I think I had a party to be able to get this. And it's got this awesome top, which is very dusty. It's so cool. So this is definitely something that I would do a finish on. You know, you could actually tie a ribbon around the top here and let it drape, or put the ribbon in here, let something drape. And that lining has really held up style-wise. I mean, it's in style still, and this thing is definitely 25 years old at least. So anyway, that's fun. I am intending to decorate today for fall. It is a gorgeous day here in southern PA. Eagles, I'm ready for the Eagles. Still sad over the Phillies. The damn Dodgers. So, just a quick little wrap up for Sampler September. I got this delightful, cute bag. At StitchCon, I had the best swap person for my smalls exchange. And so she made this bag. At StitchCon, I picked up this pattern. Everybody was doing this pattern, I feel like, that year. Was it? Oh, it's 2022. So from Pansy Patch Quilts and Stitchery. The Little Red Schoolhouse. And before, in a prior Flosstube, I had talked about that my grandmother with her sisters had to walk over hill and dale. They walked over cornfields from their house to get to their little schoolhouse, and it was red, and it was just like this. So when Lori Holt was starting to show like her family heritage type, you know, cross-stitch samplers, I'm definitely going to incorporate my grandmother's initials in here. So let's see how much progress I made on this. I am using Schoolhouse Red, which I love, and this got me onto the Gentle Art floss. I hadn't tried it before that time, and now I love it. I have so much of it. I just really love how it stitches. I love the variegation with so much of their colors. So I wanted to be finished by the end of the month, but my fair projects derailed me. It took me a long time to hand quilt that, and then at the end I hand binded it, bound it, which really took me way longer than I thought. It took me 2 separate days of like a few hours to get it done. But anyway, I will still continue working on this because, and then with my cataract surgery, I also was having a little trouble, and I got more progress in here, had to rip it all out, so I haven't been back to it since that episode. But I just love how it looks. So I think this is on a Picture This Plus Ada. I don't know if this would have been Wren or like an Oaken. I do love Picture This Plus Ada. Okay, so I think that is all. Oh, and when I was at StitchCon, I thought this was awesome. Somebody had brought like a whole big tote of old fabric, and I found this piece, so I've been keeping this in my bag. It's got hearts on it. It's perfect for this. The coloring just goes very well. So however I decide to finish it, I want to incorporate that. That's the backing. Okay, so on to some plans. I just have to show this because this was in this bag. I was not expecting this. So my friend Kathleen, I'm pretty sure she picked this up for me at a retreat. It must have been on the freebie table. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she picked this up and gave this to me. I don't think I got this, so thank you, Kathleen. Again, she is Snickerdoodle Stitch, and she does a whole variety of different charts and designs, and I'm loving right now some of the things that she showed. My hair was so nice and fluffy earlier, and now it's just she's doing a series of like stitching types of charts, and now of course I love 2 that she found and picked up by, let's see, can I think of who the I don't know that I'll remember it, but go check her out, and you'll definitely be inspired by lots of things, and she finishes a lot, so you get a lot of great finish ideas. I had to pick up this Americana Blue I've been studying the white, Americana white and Americana red as well. I'm trying to decide if I would get them, but I'm kind of like, just chill out, girl, and get, you know, finish with one. I don't know that I would do the whole alphabet with this. I think I would try to cut some corners to get it done. But this would definitely be a heritage ode to probably my grandfather's side, because actually, I'm now remembering, the Americana white has a church in the middle in white, and that sort of speaks to me a little bit better to dedicate to my grandfather and his youngest sibling. He was the oldest of his family of like 7 or 8 kids, or even more. And his youngest sibling just passed away, and she was 91 or something like that. So the motifs in Americana white speak to me more to them and the church that they attended. This one speaks to my grandmother's side of the family, his wife, because of that house. My mom and her cousins still call it the homestead. Several of them lived there together as they were young children. So as people were getting married, like my grandparents lived there and had their kids there, because it was the Depression and things like that. So there were multiple families living in this house, and the house pretty much looked like that. And my great-grandmother sewed on machine like that. So there's just a lot of emblems or motifs that speak to me. Where am I getting the emblems word? Quilting. So, oh, it says RS. Backwards, it seemed to be, I'm like, why did they put 25 on there? But no, it's RS. Still deciding. I do love it in the blue, but at the New Holland Fair, someone entered this, won first prize. It was gorgeous. It was large. But they did it in red, and it was really, really cool in red as well. So, let's see. My reading glasses were conveniently hanging on the quilt, standing quilt hoop rack. So this was originally done 36 count vintage homespun by R&R Reproductions. 1 strand over 2 on 36 count. That's appealing. 1 strand over 2, of course. And the stitch count is 247 by 246. So the finished size on 36 count is approximately almost 14 by 14, 13 and 5/8 by 13 and 5/8. So, and they used Weeks Dye Works blue jeans, it's called. It took 5 skeins of Weeks Dye Works with 1 thread, which is, that's a lot of blue jeans. So very much looking forward to starting this. It may be in my 13 for 250 Sal list of more than 13 projects at this point. All right, so on to some what of other projects that I'm either working on or have planned. I'm really out of practice with this. Here is a bag, lovely bag that I got at Hobby House at my retreat in April. And this I have dedicated to this lovely project, Summer Moon. I will work on this, even though it's called Summer Moon. It's very autumnal to me as well, and it's one of my 13 for 250. This is kind of taken over as being like my main big project. I love the 1776 on there. That moon is crazy. I don't think I'm going to be doing the big rabbit on the roof. I don't really get out of scale animals on roofs like that. So I might have to either fill the dead space. Maybe I would just fill it with more stars. I think that would be fine. Or in my finish, maybe something like a bow. Not a bow, but something 3D might get finished on there. I don't know. I guess I probably would have it framed, because till I'm finished with that, it'll be quite a masterpiece. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't have an idea for finishing just yet on this. And I've really just begun. I've only just begun to stitch. Somebody should coin that. Because I guess we've just begun to fight, I guess is the quote. I'm gonna have to look up who said that. Now this is going to perplex me as to which is the top and which is the bottom. But this is my start and all the farther I've gotten. I had to, of course, start on the house. Well, I mean, it's mostly house. This may be called, I think this is Cheerio by Atomic Ranch. It's just very subtly modeled, and I really loved it when I saw it. I got this at the New England, Stitch New England retreat one year. So, gotta get back to that. I'm really looking forward to today because yesterday was very crazy. We were kind of stuck inside because there's a nearby pavilion and somebody was having like this techno music gathering that it was just pound, 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 pa-pound, pound, pound, pa-pound, pound, like 7 hours. And I got to the evening like about 6:30 and I said to my mom, can't take it anymore. We're leaving. We're going to go watch the Phillies, have dinner somewhere. And then I had to go pick up the fair stuff. But she actually called the police twice, which I was like, if you don't call them the second time, I'm going to call them. And the cop called her and talked to her, and he was very cool about the whole thing. He's like, yeah, we're nearby, we're observing and stuff, but he said there's no sound ordinance in our township, which really surprises me because it's a very large township and it's a mixed township. So he said basically if we get involved, it's going to require someone going to court and this and that. And we're like, no, we don't want any of that. We just want you to go over there and like snip the electric cord. Like, can you do that and just turn the music off? But going out to eat was the best way to handle that. So anyway, my point being that it was a gorgeous fall day and I would have been outside more and stuff, but it was just too annoying. So today I will be stitching and it will be lovely, and I love to take my laptop out on the patio or the front porch and I will be having my Flosstube. I love unfinished stitches, and they have a new Flosstube up, so I'm going to be watching them. Who out there had to have quilted Tiny Town? So I have this. I'm getting the threads prepared. I still need a few of them. And I need to decide which fabric I'm using. So that will be something at some point that I won't be working on that today, but I think it's very, again, an autumnal. Oh, there you go. There's some leaves there. And that's probably why she released it. But I have fall Tiny Town as well, so I will be getting that out as well. I am also kitting up gingerbread row. I just think this is so darling. And I have several of the skinnies from October Fiber Arts. I love that this one, though, is called Gingerbread Row. I'd like to see more rows, please. Like, all sorts of things. So, maybe that's coming. I'm just starting to get those threads together, though. Alright, so that's in the plans. That goes in that bag. And then we have our Halloween. We have our Halloween stuff. So the other night, I wasn't really in a mode to stitch, so I decided I needed to get reacquainted with what's in these bags. I really only got as far as this one. I made this cute little thing. I turned it into a zipper pull. I guess that's what everybody was doing with them. So I did this at the Grace Notes retreat, and I made it say Spooky Town because I knew that I would, it seemed like a quirky thing to put on here. I love this bag. Now, I make a lot of my project bags, but I had to get this one because the fabric is just so adorable. And that is the maker. Purchased at a Needlework Designs market a year and a half ago. So, what I have in here are several, I didn't get all of them, but several of the Spooky Hollow series by Little Stitch Girl. So, we've got the Stitchy Shop, right? Spider's Web Stitchery, the Boutique, Rest in Peace Bed and Breakfast, if you dare, the Sweet Shop. I love the purple so much with that. So that's 4 of them. I have a feeling that I have a 5th. I feel like I have the Dance Hall because I loved the Dance Hall. Looks like a little coffin. Oh no. I might have to get the Dance Hall. So I have the Witch's Brew coffee shop. Notice how they all have a lot of dents. Stitching. I had to have the library. I think this was the first one I got. And I think I have started this one. Look at that cat. So I'm very excited to get this going. I'm in the process of getting the flosses on my new Ghost floss drops. Are they not freaking cool? Now, I need to figure out what people are doing if they're using marker on these that will come off but not come off on your projects when it's in the bag, or truly just using the stickers. So I know I have the DMC stickers somewhere. This was from Willoughby Ann. They're called the Boo Drops. You can go to willoughbyann.com. There's 10. And I got these I did the fall weekend, the Stitch, like not the Jingle Ball, but the Fall Ball, or what I was calling it, the Fall Ball. It's not called the Fall Ball. Oh my gosh, Lindsay Stitches. is, well, she was sold out, so I got, this was the last pack that Fat Quarter Shop had, so maybe Lindsay Stitches is restocked with these. So I just thought they were very cute, and the floss for this particular project is a lot of DMC, and so I thought it lended itself to get a little bit more organized so that all of the color changes will be a little bit easier. Well, look at that. Look how much I have done. I feel like I haven't seen this in a million years, or that I could say somebody else did this, because I honestly don't remember. I remember stitching a little bit of this. But look at the Ada I chose for this. I'm very pleased. I have no idea what color it is. So it's Mystery Ada. Definitely 12 count. 14 count. Because I was noticing there was a time when I was doing these towns and I'm like, oh, they need to look a little more petite, and I'll do 16 count. Well, then they were too small. I have something nearby that I thought was on 16 count, but this looks to be the coffee shop, so I'm pleased with that. Look how much progress I have there. The coverage looks a little bit better in person than it's showing up on screen. It's kind of like that. Oh, well, now I'm very excited about this. Okay, so that is that Halloween bag. In the other Halloween bag, oh, so well done. I'll have to try to show you the back fabric that's behind all these projects, because it's very cute. There is an amusement park towards the Poconos that's called Knoebels. And a few years ago, my mom and I went during their 50th anniversary of their haunted house, which looks exactly like that, and I had to get this keychain. We had such a blast in there, screaming and giggling on that ride. So there's a little ride in there of, like, you sit in sort of a little Disney Haunted Mansion. Oh no, it's sort of like a coal car, because it's the coal regions of Pennsylvania. So I keep that keychain on here. All right, so what do we have here? I'm going to show this lovely mess, but look at those brilliant, fun colors. And fueled by coffee. There's this coffee shop near me, and they were selling these hotel keychains. How to have it. And I just think of, like, old time movies, old time motels. So that's why that's designated in here. All right, I'm not going to show everything that's in this bag because it's a little cray-cray. Isn't that cute? It's a shame that it's covered up by my projects. I should try to turn the bag inside out. Okay, so I'm trying not to have everything fall off my lap. I started this, and let's see, this is really the only progress I have to show. That tree, I remember, just was taking forever. And this is just on a plain solid piece of 14 count Ada that I had on hand. I don't really like working with the perforated paper because I stitch in hand and it really slows me down. So I always do fabric with the Mill Hill kits. I do try to stick to 14 count because they are 14 count, and then I do have a Mill Hill kit. I think I have 2 frames that I can put things in interchangeably. Nothing has been finished yet, so I haven't used the frames yet, but I'm getting there with my, I have a winter scene that is getting there, and that will be finished this year. But this is so adorable, and I saw it on somebody's Instagram or Flosstube last year and had to get that. Ironically, I was never really a Halloween person. Never really liked the whole trick-or-treating thing because I didn't have siblings, and it just, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get it. So, and even my own grandmother, we would go over to her house. It was Halloween. She never knew who I was. Like, she had one grandchild. And I think she felt awkward about it as well. So we shared that, and so I can appreciate that. I started a card at some point showing, I like how my due date is filled in with years that have passed, of these different projects. Tickles me, but, I still have this fabric. I'm waiting for the right project to put on this. What's kind of weird about this is that the web is going to get covered. So it's almost like just pick a little spider or pick little motifs to put on there so that they're in the spider web, but I'm probably overthinking it. In this bag, I also have the Yikes Berry, which would probably be a pretty quick stitch. I've had this now for like 3 years and haven't started it. Actually, that's what those flosses are for, because I recognize some of the colors. So I have this. This is 14 count Fabric Flare Clementine. So even though this Yikes Berry is on this purple, I really like purple floss. And also I picked up this orange fabric. So I think I'm still kind of like deciding, would I put the Yikes Berry on here? I have it tucked in to this pattern, so. And that's basically it for this bag. What I am missing was what I was expecting to see are these Sue Hillis candelabras. I absolutely must get one of them done this Halloween season. So they are the candelabras that are on a very brilliant purple. So the candelabras themselves are pretty much just black. And I have the purple fabric that is a 20 count cork. And then you're supposed to do 1 over 1. I was getting very frustrated. I was trying to do silk on that cork and the stitches were just being hidden. They just were sinking into the cork. And I know that you're supposed to kind of stitch the X in a particular way, and that's not normally how I stitch in hand. So I have to just sort of like know that I'm going to take my time with it, and it's not going to be one of those projects that I pick up after work and like, okay, let's tackle this, you know. So I have to kind of plan that out. So I believe we're at the end of the Flosstube. It's almost an hour, so I was going to talk a little bit about my cataract surgery and the dilemma that is happening. I had the right eye done, and he set that lens to focus on distance and giving me really great distance vision. It's the best distance vision I've had in years. If I look like 3 to 5 feet out in the room, it's crisp and clear. If I look 15 feet beyond that, I'm looking at a bush right now, that is very clear. If I look way over to the neighborhood next to us, I can see branches on the tree out there. So I love it. It's wonderful. But this eye then, like, after that surgery, I went to the doctor the next day, you get checked out, and they gave me a contact lens for this eye so that my brain could start to adapt, and this eye would be set to give me my near vision. And all these friends were like, you're gonna love it, you won't have to wear glasses, you'll only need glasses for things really small and whatever. Well, that's not what's happening for me. My brain did not adjust to that first contact lens. We gave it a whole week, and then I had my pre-op appointment for my next surgery, which was going to be this eye, and I said, it's not working for me. And that's the whole monovision thing, where one eye is set for one distance and the other eye is set for another distance, and they're supposed to work together for all your vision. So the doctor and me both decided, let's postpone your cataract surgery for the second eye until we find the right thing for you. Because he's like, you know, you're very young. The reason I'm having cataract surgery, if I didn't say this already, is because it's not age related. It's because of what they call like trauma to the eyes or an injury, and they think it's related to years and years of eye allergies in the summertime. So normally cataracts that people have removed, your whole lens is clouded. In my case, there's just streaks of more of like a white streak on my original lens, and it's the streaks are in my field of vision, so in my pupil area, and that's causing glare. The right eye was worse. I had so much glare, and even during the day, and then when you're driving, you have starbursts. The headlights look like starbursts and all that stuff. So I'm really getting frustrated because now I'm on my second contact lens to try out, and it's still not quite right. And I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to trust that what's not right is being caused by the cataract, which means that I just have to trust that what lens they're going to put in there is going to be right. If it's not, the worst case scenario is that I have readers all the time. And basically what I would do is just get glasses then that has the reading part at the bottom and then clear at the top. I loved the idea of no glasses for the most of my world, because I go out, I try to walk, I sweat a lot. And I always wore contact lenses until my vision started to be out of whack, and it was just easier to deal with glasses. So thankfully, because I stitch in hand and I stitch pretty much up close, I've been able to do that okay with readers. I've had to start depending more on my magnifiers just since the cataract surgery. What I don't love is finally I can see the TV. I couldn't read the guide on the TV, and some of these like Netflix or Apple in particular, you can't tell when you're trying to select something. I couldn't tell, what am I clicking on? Like which thing is highlighted or whatever, which program image, poster, what am I clicking on? All of that has become a lot clearer, but I can't see it because I have these on. So, hopefully I will find a solution. The next contact lens I'm trying this week is going to be a multifocal lens. So it will have both the reading close-up vision lens and distance built into it. The problem with when they do the actual lens that they put in your eye that's multifocal, people have said that they still see the starbursts, and that in low light conditions, like if you're in a restaurant that's dim lighting and stuff, you really lose the ability for depth perception. So people sometimes miss steps or whatever. You just have to watch these things. So I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble adapting to the fact that this is, an age-related these are the times that these are the situations we have to start to accept. And I watched some YouTube videos with ophthalmologists that talked a little bit more about when you're young, the lenses in our eyes, they actually have a flex to them, and there's a muscle that lets them focus, and that's what we lose. We start to really notice it when we're in our 40s and we have to start using readers or whatever. And when you have cataracts removed and lenses put in, obviously that is a hard, there's nothing flexible about it. And so whatever prescription is set for those lenses, that's what you get. So yes, so it's just, I don't know, I have body parts that are being removed and body parts that are being replaced. Like, who knew? Like, we kind of knew this is what happens when you get to certain times in life. But anyway, thank God for cross stitch, because and that I can still see. So if you have any words of wisdom or just words of solidarity, I would appreciate that. And if you're still with me, I appreciate that too. Thank you so much for subscribing and watching today. Happy stitching. I hope to be back with an update for the 13 in 250 South for celebrating 250 years of independence next year in 2026. So I think, there's going to be a lot more patterns coming out for that. Breaking news is that I heard in another Flosstube that Laura, Stitching by the Shore, has a sal. It's a pumpkin sal. So if you are stitching any pumpkins, go ahead and participate in that sal, post your pictures, and I'm not quite sure of the hashtag with that sal, but it's Stitching by the Shore is her Flosstube. So I don't know exactly if that's what she is on Instagram, but so anyway, happy stitching, happy fall, enjoy all the good things. So go Eagles, go Phillies. This is our time. All right, happy stitching. Bye bye, everybody.